This is Mary from Teacher's Pet Dog Training. Today we're going to introduce you to how to teach your dog to overcome opposition reflex. This is a natural response for dogs to oppose a force placed upon them. The purpose of engagement training is to train your dog to focus on you and follow your lead through visual and physical cues. If done correctly, your dog will stick with you like glue. The walk becomes a dance where he follows your lead, almost anticipating your next move. There are times, however, when your dog may need some guidance through the leash. You do not need to yank, snap, or tug on your dog to follow your lead. But it is important that you understand the opposition reflex is the tendency for beings to resist pressure. So here's an example of opposition reflex. I'm going to push on the back of Gracie's back end. Now what she's doing is I can feel the same amount of pressure being pushed back on my hand. So she's not giving to the pressure, she's pushing back on the pressure. And this is what we call opposition reflex. So we need to train our dog to overcome their natural tendency to oppose pressure and give to the leash, meaning they come towards the pressure rather than opposing it.
In order to break her of that natural opposition reflex, we pull in a straight parallel line, whether it's forward or backwards or to the side, and the moment she gives to the line, we release all the tension on the line.
Here, if we pull back in a straight line back, yes. As soon as she takes that step back, then we can reward her. Here, just a little bit of pressure back. Yes, good girl. But it's important that we don't move because we don't want her moving to our body movement. So here, I'm going to pull in a straight line forward here. As soon as she gives to the pressure, yes, good girl. And all the pressure is freed up. The reason I pull forward, yes, is I want to show that you see that there's this opposition, and then all of a sudden when she gives to that pressure, then that's when I release all the pressure, and then lever up, you retreat or whatever. But it's that little bit of opposition, 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 that's a little uncomfortable, but as soon as she gives to the pressure, then I release all the pressure, and then that's when we say, good girl, yay, good job. So she's then learning how to turn off pressure. So that's what we call breaking oppositional reflex. So now when we move the leash, then just a little bit of pressure gets her to move forward. So here it's a little resistance, little resistance, little resistance. Yes, yay, good girl. A key factor here is that it is critical that we understand that applying any type of pressure to a dog is stressful. So this training should be done after a foundation of positive reinforcement using engagement training techniques that have been established. We have that strong bond of trust with our dog first before we begin any form of leash pressure. If you need more information, I recommend you visit my website, teacherspet.biz, and watch the videos under Foundation Work before you begin this phase of training.
See the pop-up? See the pop-up? Good, yes, good girl. Here we're rewarding the fact that she's smelling this little dog, she's using her nose, but she's not getting excited about it. Comes a little kid on a scooter. Again, I'm just going to keep her from getting too close. She can use her nose. Create a little bit of resistance. Yes, good girl. Now, what I'll do, which is really important, is I'm also going to use my verbal communication with her, because we've already got a system down that she understands that I may ask her to come with me prior to giving any pressure on the line. So if she first conforms to that verbal communication, then I'll put zero tension on the line because she's also following along with my voice. I'll lower my body too to make myself a little bit more enticing to her. Pocket, come, good girl. Now you'll notice I haven't reinforced with food too much yet, but every once in a while, if the distractions become high or I need to lure her a little bit, I'm going to reinforce staying with me by simply giving her a treat. So it's sort of like being in Vegas. I'm giving her a random reinforcement. She doesn't know exactly when it's coming, but she's more likely to stay with me because she doesn't know when it's going to come. Now you'll notice we have a pretty good rhythm going right now. She's starting to really get a feel for how this leash works. And if she doesn't, then again, I'm going to help her back the train up a little bit and help her by lowering my body and making myself a little bit more exciting. Good girl.
I do not recommend any of this training until the dog is at least 6 months old. Puppies should be trained with a harness to minimize any stress that may occur during the engagement training phase. And lastly, it is very important that we isolate collar pressure work for any other obedience work. This must be done separately so that the dog does not associate the pressure with any obedience work. With that said, this is very important training that will help your dog become very responsive to directions from the leash. Once completed, your dog will become very responsive to the leash with very little pressure applied to the collar. I hope this video helps you to understand that using engagement training techniques helps your dog focus on you and enables him to respond to your body movement and intentions. We need to rely on those skills when communicating with the dog. However, there are times when our dog is distracted and we will need to rely on the leash to guide our dog in another direction. Before we can do this, we need to teach them to give to the pressure of the leash. This training must be done first with no distractions. Once completed and done through many positive associations, you will have a dog that is very responsive to the lightest pressure on the leash. So give this a try, keep training short and positive, and have fun with your dog. They'll love you for it.